Started. All right. So what we're going to take a look at today is we're going to talk about basically what's going to happen after you graduate. We're going to take a look at it from a leadership standpoint, things you should try, things you can do to really what this is going to be about is all about promoting you. As you guys know by now, leadership is basically two things: it's influence and it's vision. If you don't have influence, you're not going to be able to convince anybody to follow you, and if you don't have a vision but you have influence, you're just going to go around in a circle. So vision and influence are big, but really what it comes down to is getting on people's radar, your bosses, the companies you work for, and so on and so on. So that's what we're going to take a look at. So once you graduate, what should you take a look at and try to do? So we're going to look at two articles from this, and then we're going to go into a little bit of HR that once you do, actually before you graduate, we're going to talk a little bit about interviewing. We're going to talk a little bit about, when you're looking at other places to go to, what you should consider and things along those lines. And I'm going to have some stuff that I'm going to send to you guys after this as well, send to everybody for stuff that we discuss. So this first article comes from Forbes. This is a recent article that came out just like late last week. And it was Be a Leader in Industry. And what this author did, and this is John Hall from Forbes, really talks about helping others. The second article that I talked about is also about this, but it focuses a little bit more on you as this. So the first thing that this article talks about is, talk about how do we help others? Well, the first thing we talk about benefits of helping others. The first one here, as you can see, is create brand advocates. So what we're talking about here is you're talking about yourself. So you're going to get people to going to encourage people is what this article is all about. Okay. So what you're talking about here is, like, as an example, hiring someone who is solely responsible for helping other people. These are types of jobs that come into play. This is a great opportunity to where I'm not talking about a help desk thing necessarily. I'm talking about to where you assist, maybe customer service or things like that in whatever industry or job you're looking at. So with this, you want to try to help people create brand advocates, not only for your company but for yourself, because you need to look at yourself as brand. And I know that you guys looked at that 1 week during the discussion board. So you always want to be able to help people, communities, other employees, and things like that, and where people feel comfortable coming to you. And once the people become comfortable coming to you with different types of things, that's where they see your brand. This is where you can create your brand for them, and it's kind of a cultural, or think of it like a culture within the department, within the company that you're working on, and things like that. So it's all about helping opportunities to help other people out. The second thing that you want to try to do for other people is decrease barriers. So when you make the effort to help someone, you're really giving the opportunity to form a meaningful relationship rather than a purely, let's say, transactional one. This goes back to the chapter 1 of the Maxwell book. Chapter 1 of the Maxwell book is all about influence, but if you take a look at it, it's all about relationships. It's all about getting to know people, the people that work for you. And once you start to get to know people, the types of opportunities you're going to be able to provide is not only for yourself, but for them is when you get to know people, you know what motivates them and what demotivates them. And this is a really, really important thing, because the more you get to know people, the more you know how to work with them and things along those lines. So what you want to try to do is create these relationships, decrease barriers for people. In other words, help them be able to get where they're trying to go. And thus you'll see that, the picture that I have right there. And you want to always try to provide added benefits to people, and whatever the case that may be. And obviously that is going to be very situational as well. Okay. Also, probably the best thing about this slide right here is encouragement. You always want to try to encourage employees to do the same thing that you're trying to do. Okay. Now, obviously, we're talking about, this is very Maxwell based right here. Okay. Because we're talking about relationships and things like that. And like I said to Daniel a little bit earlier, before we went to the recording here, I'm much more Maxwell than I am green. I have had green done to me. I've done green to other people when I've needed to, but I'm always about encouragement. I'm always about encouraging people to raise the bar, to get to that next level, to never putting people down, but to encouraging them. Okay. So what you want to basically do is set an example for your employees to do the same on this. So this can really mean kind of like employees more likely to go out of the way to help clients, resulting in higher customer satisfaction. Because the happier that your employees are, the more that they're, when it comes to meeting with customers, the happier they're going to be, and that's going to show. I've always heard that, if you're doing telephone work, always smile on the phone because people can almost hear you smiling. Okay, whenever you're talking with a smile on your face. So this is the type of thing. So let's talk about the 5 ways that we can help other employees. And remember, this is all about building those relationships and networking and so on. So 5 ways to help in your leadership. Number 1, you want to recognize your employees. We've already talked about that in the Maxwell book. Recognition is a very big motivator. I don't believe in like recognizing people for every little single thing. This kind of depends on, I never really treat all employees the same. If like, as an example, Rachel, if you just started to work for me, of course I'm going to be there every day trying to encourage you, trying to show you the ropes. But let's say that Lindsay has worked for me for 10 years. Lindsay, I don't really need to encourage you as much as I would Rachel, because you've worked for me for 10 years. I don't need to pat you on the back every day. If I did that, I would probably drive you nuts. But this even goes to recognition, like, as length of time they've been there at the company, or if they've done a great job, send an email out, all these types of things. Recognition is huge. Bring business their way. If you are busy and you simply cannot, you have more clients than what you know what to do with, give some business to other people. Okay. So if someone asks you to suggest a particular product or service, give a potential leader or a business partner an introduction. Okay. So you can do LinkedIn connections, all this type of stuff right here, to help people out, because most people will return the favor. Okay. Number 3, and we'll hit this number 3 in the second article that we're going to talk about as well, and that's volunteer your time. So really, even the busiest people can bring time to help people out. Okay. So what you want to do is try to volunteer your time. And we're going to talk about this in the second article when it comes to like a project type of thing. But volunteer your time with causes that people like within the office, whatever the case may be. Number 4, share knowledge. This is something that not a lot of people do. Okay. But this is really the easiest way to help if you lack a personal brand. Okay. And we're talking about, you as a leader here. So recognize some common problems people are having and find a way to connect the dots for them. So I'm just going to read from this article right here. For example, a lot of people have told me they have trouble connecting to APIs and web services. These are very specialized things online. Because I simply know about Zapier and its services, I've been able to introduce people to a product that saves them both time and money. This type of stuff people are not going to forget. Okay. I call this banking favors. So let's say you do a favor for somebody at your company, and then you don't ask for anything in return. Human nature says that we can go back to that person and go, hey, I need blah, blah, blah. And you may have to say, well, remember that time I helped you. But for most cases, people are going to help you out. So this is all about sharing yourself. Don't be afraid of doing that. And the last one is give feedback. Now, I'm not talking about critical feedback here, but I'm talking about constructive feedback. Okay. So, too often people tell peers that they want to hear rather than actual giving valuable constructive feedback. Okay. That could really help them. Okay. So what you could do is, when you provide this feedback, and I'm not just talking about an evaluation, but when you provide this feedback, you're going to make them a better employee, and they're going to they're going to thank you for that as well. So really, this whole article is about, sharing of yourself, sharing knowledge, bring businesses away, and you're going to be amazed as you start to move up that ladder within the company you work for, or the company that you've started and you want to go. These types of things people do not forget, because there's not a lot of people that do that out there. Are you going to get burnt? Of course you are. That's where the green book comes in. Okay. Remember, Maxwell is all about leadership traits. Green is about how to play the game. You are going to get burnt. You are going to be let down. I like treating people the way that I want to be treated by them. That works 95% of the time. It's the 5% that's going to drive you crazy. But trust me, the older you get, the easier you can deal with it. Okay. So any questions on that before we move on to the next article here? So you can see the name of the next article is How to Gain Leadership Experience in an Entry-Level Job. Very much right on track for what you guys are going to be doing here in about 10 months. All right, so let's move on to this. All right, so let's talk about leadership after graduation. Okay. A lot of times in my career, when I first started out and things like that, most of the time when you get feedback from your boss or so on is usually during, an annual performance review. And a lot of times they'll say, act more like a leader, when you first start out. What this article is about is how to act like a leader and be viewed as a leader before you even get to that first evaluation. Okay. So the first one here is start a charity project. Okay. So you can do things like, let's say there, the storm, the Sandy storm that came through in up in East, Hurricane Katrina. We don't have to do big things like that, although that is absolutely the case. Okay. So what you can do here is you can start a charity project within your department, within the company, and so on. Okay. And what this will bring you an instant opportunity to showcase your project management, volunteer recruitment, organizational skills, leadership skills. The list really goes on and on and on. Okay. So when you do this and you start this and you market this charity, you're going to be seen by a lot of different people. So once this is done, and let's say you have achieved your goal, you want to definitely publicize the results and let your team know what they did under your leadership, because you are the one that's over this charity project. Great way to start leadership skills, great way to show your boss and other people the type of leader that you can be. So this is a very good charity project. Second thing, this goes back to law number 1 of the Green Book, is make your boss look good. Okay. So here, let me just say this, becoming a problem solver won't just help you get better reviews in your current position, but it's going to help you get to the next one. You want to be a problem solver. You want to be the type of person that says, I see a problem in this, but here's a possible solution. Because let me tell you something, the world is full of people that say, I see a problem with this, but then they don't offer a solution. So every time these people open their mouths, all you get is eye rolls from the other people. Yeah. We know you've got a problem with this, but can you offer a solution? Those are the types of people that really stand out. So leaders solve problems, they just don't perform tasks. Okay. So really, when you show others, like your boss, that you can analyze the situation and offer a viable solution, you're going to stand out from your other people who are just doing their jobs. Enough said with that. Really don't need to go any further than that, but make your boss look good. And this is about playing the game. This is about the Green Book all day long. All right. So this is a very good situation. This is a very good solution as well. Check this out. Mentor the interns. Let me just say this. When you are the low man or woman on the totem pole, it can really seem sometimes impossible to find places where you can lead. However, nobody ever really wants to manage the interns. Okay. This is a great opportunity for you to do this. Okay. So what you can do is when you're helping these interns and stuff, it's really going to hone your people skills. It's really going to bring your people skills out, and you're going to learn how to deal with other people. Also, you make connections with these people, and it's going to be a challenge to work with these different people, either fresh out of college or in college, and so on. And let me tell you this: if you do this type of thing, eventually your boss is going to notice that you're a natural leader, because number one, you've asked to mentor the interns, to be over the interns, even if you aren't officially managing the other full-time staffers. Okay, this is going to give you a great opportunity to show your boss what type of leadership skills that you have. And the last one is this: take charge in the next big project. But this comes with a caution, a very big caution. You don't want to do this right out of the gate. My best advice to you is when you start a new job is to kick back a little bit, see how things work. And let me just tell you this, if you don't know it already, just because somebody doesn't have a title does not mean that they don't have power. Okay. Now, what I mean by that is the people that are closest to the leader are the ones that's going to have power. Even somebody, if we take a look at President Obama, the advisors that he has working for him have a lot of power. Even though they don't have the title of the President of the United States, they have the president's ear. These people are very powerful, have a lot of influence, and help the president get the job done that he needs to get done. But when you get in there and you start to feel a little bit comfortable, okay, maybe a few months, then you want to definitely put your hand up, and your job may depend on this. This is how you need to take a look at it. So really a common mistake among younger or shy employees is waiting to get selected for the prime project. That may or may not happen. So don't wait around to be assigned a leadership role. So volunteer to take lead on the project, share your ideas, for say a new project within your department. And what you're going to do when you do this, you're going to build your communication skills with your coworkers, managers, and you're going to be able to learn how to manage a team if you don't know how to do so already. So this is another big thing that's going to put you on the radar, and this is what you want to do. The more things you do like this, the more people are going to notice you, and you're going to definitely be on a lot of people's radar. So these are two great articles to talk about once you do graduate from college, and then what to go from there. Okay, so with that being said, I hope you guys have a great program. We're not done with the lecture yet, okay? But here's my opportunity to say I hope you guys have a great program. I'm always, if you guys need anything, you can contact me and so on. Sounds like I'm getting ready to finish this, but I'm not because we haven't talked about the assignments. But this leads into something else, okay? So let's say you have a great program. Those 2 tickets right there that you give to your family, they come to your graduation. What do you do now? Now, the stuff that I'm going to talk about, before we talk about it, let me just say this is a warning. Do not, I repeat, do not wait till the last minute to go out and try to find a job. You should be trying to start to look for a job now, okay? Because if you wait till the last minute, it could really hurt you, okay? Because you may not be able to find that job. It takes anywhere from 4 to 5 months on average for a graduate to find a job, and that includes everything from jobs at McDonald's to big paying jobs. So don't wait to the last minute. You really need to start looking now. So how do you do that? Well, there's a couple things I want to run by you guys. Okay. So let me open up my Microsoft Word document. I want to show you that yet. We'll get to that in just a second. So let me open this up, and there's something I want to show you guys. Okay. So let's talk about resumes, and then we're going to talk about interviews. Okay. For a resume, it needs to be absolutely spotless. It needs no mistakes. You need to spend some time with this. You need to show it to 3 or 4 different types of people, because the resume is going to get you in the door for the interview. But you cannot stop there. That's just the beginning of the research. This right here that you see on your screen are 46 sample questions that you could be asked in an interview. You have to prepare for all of these. And I don't care if you are interviewing for whatever job you're interviewing for. These are the types of things that you're going to be asked that you need to be able to answer. Like as an example, what problems do you think you will have in this job? What do you see yourself doing in 5 years? That's kind of a common one. Let's see here. How do you handle last minute jobs? These are the types of things they see how your brain works. What things annoy you most in your workday. These are the types of things that they're going to ask you to see, the type of personality that you have, and so on and so on. You see number 20 there, how to handle stress. These are the types of questions that you're going to be asked. And by the way, I'm going to send this to you guys, that you really need to be prepared for whenever you go out there and you start to do the interviewing. Whenever I was in college, I started to actually interview at companies when I was a sophomore. I couldn't get the job, but what I did was, just like anything else, the more you practice, the better you get at it. So I actually started signing up for interviews for these companies when I was a sophomore, and I probably did 1 or 2 a week with these major companies, so that when it really did come time when I was a senior to find that job, I wouldn't be all scared, and I wouldn't be, shaking in my boots whenever I was in the interview. So these are the types of things that you can do, and these interview questions are a very, very big help when it comes to that. So I'm going to send this to you guys so that you'll have something like this whenever you do start to go out there and do interviews. All right, one other thing that I want to show you guys here, and I'm going to go to my web resources page here, is how much money should you make. So let's say that you're looking at some companies to work for, okay? And let me open this up here. Open up a new window. This right here can help you with that. This is called salary.com. I'm not going to say this is the end all be all for what you're trying to do here, but what you could do is, let's say that you want to be a manager of social media. And let's say we want to work in Atlanta. This is going to give you an idea. Other way at the very top. It's going to give you an idea what the starting salaries are. So we got media social manager, Atlanta, Georgia. I'm just going to leave all the rest of the stuff here. Okay. And we can go down here. We can say, okay, social media marketing manager. So we're going to click on this. So they have the job description. They go along with this. And then what you can do here is we're going to look at the free salary data. View my results. Now you can also pay for this, but I'm just going to do it like this. So for a social media marketing manager, the average, or the median, I guess I should say, not the average, is 102,000. The low end is 57,000. The high end is 118. So unless you've got experience as a social media marketing manager, you are not going to be able to expect 102. But let's say that you do interview at a company in Atlanta and they offer you a salary of $30,000. This is going to give you an idea that they are lowballing you big time. Okay. Oh, thanks, Rachel. I'll take a look at that as well. Yeah, and guys, take a look at that as well. But this is going to give you an idea. And, if you go out there, it's going to ballpark what you want to do. And this way, you're not really walking in if they ask you that question, and they usually do it on the second interview, how much money you expect to make. At least you want to be in the ballpark of the talk here. And this can kind of give you a great idea on how to do that. Okay, so definitely take a look at salary.com. And I'm going to send you all this stuff as well, guys and gals. But this right here can save you thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars. Okay, because there's a little thing called cost of living. And cost of living is going to be different for every place that you live for the most part. Okay, so as an example, let's say that I'm just going to use Florida. I'm just going to use Orlando. Let's say that you live in Orlando, and let's say that you make $50,000 living in Orlando. Now you can see in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, which is basically where the University of North Carolina is, to make the same, or to have the same standard of living of the $50,000 that you made in Orlando, you have to make $57,000 in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. So, Daniel, Lindsay, and Rachel, I'm going to ask a question here. How much do you think that you have to make in Manhattan, New York, to have the same standard of living that you would have for $50,000 in Orlando? Anybody want to? Why don't you three take a guess at that? So if you make $50,000 in Orlando, okay, around $100,000. Rachel, Daniel, okay. So let's take a look at this. All right, so we'll go to New York, and we are going to go to Manhattan. It's $115,000. Okay, so it's even more than double. Okay, so if you did not know about this site, you could be leaving tens of thousands of dollars, on the table for whenever you're going out and looking for a job. If we go from, Florida, let's just do the Georgia. Let's just go back to Atlanta. 49,000. So the cost of living in Atlanta is just a attachment below what you would have to do in Orlando. So this is a site that you definitely, and I mean definitely, want to take a look at, especially if you're offered two different types of jobs, if you agree to go that way to work for a company. But what's crazy about this is, if we go back to New York, is look how much it costs just for housing. Housing is 474% more. So I've had students say, yeah, I'm going to go get a job in New York City. And I'm like, how are you going to live? And they said, well, I'm going to get an apartment. No, you're going to get an apartment with probably two other roommates. It's what's going to happen. That's kind of like what you were talking about, Daniel, as well. To live in New York, I mean, it's a great place for opportunity, and it's a city that never sleeps and things like that. But man, is it expensive to live there. And most of the times, fresh out of college, and even adults 50 years old have to have roommates because they just simply cannot do it on their own. So this is another great site to look at. Okay, it's the cost of living. Like I said, I'm going to send you guys this stuff as well. This right here is a very unique way of doing a job search. So I'm going to pull this up here. Okay. Let me skip this video. All right. So what you have here is you have let's say that you know that you want to work for a certain company, and this can be a tough thing to do. But let's say that you know the companies that you want to work for. So based upon that, what you do is you go out and you find the actual people that you think you're going to be working for within that company. So let me just say that again. You know the company you want to work for, and you actually find the names of the people that most likely you're going to be working for. You have to have that information before you do this. Okay, so I'm just going to let this play, and you guys can check this out. Now, if you haven't figured it out, what he did is he went out and he found the actual people's names, and then he bought the rights to when they Googled themselves. He was the first hit, and then if they clicked on that, then what they did is it took him to his resume. So you can see there, Googling yourself is a lot of fun. Hiring me is fun too. You may want to guess how much this cost him to do this. Nope, way off, Daniel. $6. How do you do this? I don't know. I haven't done it, but that's what Google is for. So you guys can go out and figure out how to do this. But this is a great way of really presenting yourself in a very unique way. And if this happens to work for you, please let me know, okay? Because I show this every month. I don't know if anybody's actually done this or not. So I've started to say, if you guys do this and it works for you, please let me know, because I'd love to tell other students that this has actually worked for one of our students here at Full Sail. Okay, but this is a very unique way of being able to get yourself out there. But you have to know the companies, and you have to hopefully know the people that you're possibly going to be working for as well. Okay. So, any questions over that? We'll go back to the lecture and look at the assignments here. All right. So let's talk about the week 4 GoToTraining session, or GoToMeeting session, I guess I should say, because I'm not doing a GoToTraining, I'm doing a GoToMeeting. All right, discussion boards. If you guys don't have that down by now, I don't know what to tell you. What we're really going to focus in on this week is the leadership paper. The case assessment, I'm sure you guys have already downloaded. Easy thing for that is, remember, it only covers weeks 3 and 4. I do not go back and ask you to, look for things that we've already covered in class. So it only covers the readings from the last 2 weeks, okay, that we've had in both Maxwell and Green. Okay, so let's talk about the paper. We're going to spend a little bit of time on this. On FSO, I've got a few things for you guys to download for the leadership paper. There is a worksheet on that. You don't want to turn in the worksheet, but the worksheet is actually going to help you with the paper. So what I want to do is start off taking a look at the worksheet. And the worksheet looks like, let me pull this up. Looks like this right here, okay? So let me kind of give you the overall focus, and then we're going to take a look at details here. This is a 5-paragraph paper, okay? Now, what I mean by 5 paragraphs, and let me warn you guys, that sounds like an easy paper to do, but every month I have students that gets 20s, 30s, and 40s out of 100 on this paper. This is all about following the instructions. The reason why it's only 5 paragraphs is I'm kind of teaching you guys how to write research papers for the rest of the program. So we start off small, and I want this to be something that you definitely have to do research on this and so on, but we start off small to kind of teach you the technique to be able to write research papers for the rest of the program here. So obviously this is going to be a leadership paper. You have to pick a leader, and let me just tell you this, I don't care who you pick. It doesn't have to be from entertainment, because as far as I'm concerned, a leader is a leader. Okay, so it does not have to be from entertainment. But what you have to do is you have to prove that they are a leader. And how you prove they are a leader is by using the Maxwell book. If you take a look at all 10 chapters of the Maxwell book, those are traits of a leader. The green book is how to play the game. The green book is not about traits. So I'm not looking for green book type of things within this, within the paper. I'm looking for Maxwell traits. So things like credibility, integrity, influence, trials and triumphs that tested the leader. And let me just say this about trials and triumphs. If you take a look at the life of Tyler Perry, Tyler Perry went through a part of his life where he spent 4 months living in his car. Okay. You don't want to present the trials and tribulations of a leader as kind of like Tyler Perry spent 4 months in his car and therefore he's a leader. If that was the case, everybody's be spending 4 months in their car. It's what did he learn from that? Okay. It's not that he spent 4 months in his car that made him a leader, but what did he learn from that is how you want to present that. But the traits that you pick, and you have to pick 3 traits, you have to prove that the leader that you pick, it does indeed have those traits from articles. Okay. So we're going to talk about EBSCO hosts here in just a second and things like that. But you want to pick 3 traits that your leader has, and you have to find articles that prove those traits. So I'm going to continue down here. Okay, so this is the worksheet right here. You do not turn in the worksheet, obviously, you turn in the paper. But you want to first start off with the thesis statement. Now, this probably will come after you do your research. Obviously, you've got to pick your leader first. And by the way, I don't care if you use the leader from your Picha Kucha presentation. And let me just say this about the Picha Kucha. There is a major problem with the new software from Keynote, the new Keynote software. And of all the Picha Kuchas that I've looked at, none of the sound works. So as long as you turned in a Picha Kucha presentation, Merry Christmas, I'm going to give you full credit for it because the software is screwed up at this point. I'm going to have to figure out something else to do with this. So as long as you turn in a Picha Kucha, I'm going to give you full credit for that assignment because there's just the new software is just not there yet. They're trying to improve it, but it's just simply not there. So you guys got full credit for turning in a Picha Kucha presentation, even if the audio was completely off. I'm going to be sending an email out, but I just pretty much decided that this morning. Okay. So what the thesis statement says is this. Now, let me just go ahead and go right to it here. Like as an example, let's say you want, and you guys can't do this. You can't do Steve Jobs now because we're going to go over it. But let's say that you pick Steve Jobs as a leader. Okay, so what traits does Steve Jobs have that you could put into a thesis statement and therefore make a research paper out of it? So this would be your thesis statement as an example here. Steve Jobs was an industry leader because of his perseverance, credibility, and his approach to innovation. Notice those are 3 that actually are not from the Maxwell book, but they're still traits of a leader. So what you would want to do then is you would want to go out and find an article that says that Steve Jobs has perseverance or has credibility or his approach to innovation. Okay. So with that in mind, what I want to do is I want to take a look at our EBSCO host, okay, that you guys have availability to here, through Full Sail University Connect. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to organizations. I'm going to come down to library and I'm going to go to research databases. And when I click on this, we're going to do academic search complete. Okay. Tap on this. And here we go. Here we got our search fields. So let's see. Let me go back to this Google job experiment. I'm going to type in Steve Jobs. Let's see how many hits Google comes back with. Almost 1 billion hits. Okay. Good luck going through all that. So let's try EBSCO host. And I'm not saying EBSCO host is going to work for you, but you definitely need to try it first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in Steve Jobs. And let's see how much EBSCO host. And by the way, these are good articles. These are good articles to use for your research paper. Okay, so we come up with 2,643. But this is what we could do. I could make this a 2000 to 2014. That's going to drop it down to 2,206. But I also want full text. So when I tap on full text, it takes me down to 1,300. But this is what we could do. Let's say we do Steve Jobs and leadership. And we can always put in integrity or perseverance or staff development. I'm just going to do Steve Jobs and leadership. And when I do that, it comes down to 41. If I go back to this and type in Steve Jobs and leadership, we get 116 million. Okay, so this is something you definitely want to use. So we got Steve Jobs and leadership. So let's say we come down here and we say Steve was never satisfied. So this is the full text right here. Now here's a really cool thing. As a part of your paper, you have to reference this for each paragraph. So the 3 traits that you pick are going to be in the second, third, and fourth paragraph of your paper. Each paragraph has to be at least 5 sentences to qualify as a paragraph, okay, for your paper. But within that paragraph, let's say that you're talking about Steve Jobs and his integrity. You have to not only talk, you're going to list that reference. You're going to reference that article. You can say something about the article and then put the reference at the end of it. Because what you're going to do then is you're going to say, this is my opinion, and here's an article that backs up my opinion. By the way, you cannot use the word I or me. No first person in APA. It was fine for your journal entry. It was fine for your blog post. But with APA, you can now use the word I or me. Okay? But here's what the cool thing about this is. If I move over, let's get this out of the way here. If I come over here, look at this site. If I tap on this for this particular article, here's my APA reference. So I can just copy that and then put that into my paper, and my reference is already good to go for that. Okay, so definitely take a look at EBSCOhost before you go to Google, because it may be able to help you a little bit more. So let's go back to the worksheets here. So you've got your 3 traits. You found your 3 traits as a leader, and now what you want to do is you want to develop your body. Okay, and I'm going to let you guys read through this yourself. Okay, but this right here basically visually gives you what your paper should be about. So this is paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So this first paragraph, you start with an intro. You start broad, and then you narrow the scope down to the thesis statement, and then you have your thesis statement. Here's the deal. The thesis statement has to be the last sentence of your first paragraph. Let me say that again. The thesis statement has to be the last sentence of your first paragraph. So your thesis statement might be this right here. You might say, Walt Disney was a very effective leader. And point 1 would be trait number 1, trait number 2, trait number 3. So this point 1 is this paragraph. So this is the first paragraph. This is the second. I know I got paragraph number 1, but we're talking about your thesis statement here. So this first paragraph is you're going to say, let's say you got for Walt Disney, you have influence. So this point number 1 is influence. This paragraph will talk about Walt Disney and his influence. Now remember, you want to use more than 5. You want to use at least 5 sentences. If you don't do that, points are taken off. If you don't have your thesis statement as the last sentence of your first paragraph, there's points taken off. Okay. Point number 2 is going to be your next paragraph that talks about that trait for that leader. And then point number 3 is your third trait, which is going to be that next paragraph. So for each one of these paragraphs, you're going to talk about those traits that are in your thesis. You're going to give a reference. And when I say a reference, I am not talking about something from Wikipedia, although you can use the references from down there in Wikipedia. You just can't use Wikipedia as a reference. Okay. But you want to use good articles. You don't want to use something from Steve's blog, because who's Steve and why should I care? So you want to find articles from newspapers or magazines or something like that that talks about your particular leader. I mean, even Rolling Stone is a good magazine to use, if you want to do it on an entertainment leader. You just don't want to do it from some website that I've never heard of before or something like that. So you get your first paragraph. Okay, you have your first trait, second trait, third trait, and then your last paragraph is going to be the conclusion. The first sentence on the last paragraph, you want to restate your thesis. Okay, so let me say that again. The first sentence on the last paragraph, you restate your thesis about your leader, and then what you do is you broaden out the rest of that paragraph. So this is basically your paper in a nutshell from a visual standpoint. You got your intro, thesis statement, 1, 2, and 3. You want to put your references in there, and then you have your conclusion. One thing to take a look at on FSO is I have included a paper that a student did in class. She did a very, very good paper on Hattie McDaniel, which is the first African American to receive an Oscar in the 1930s for Gone with the Wind. She was Best Supporting Actress. Here's a little interesting fact that sucks. Um, she was up for an Academy Award, an Oscar, and she wasn't even allowed in the theater because she was black. And then she won, and she wasn't even in the theater when she won. I mean, I can't even imagine, but thank God times have changed. So, anyways, she wrote a paper on Hattie McDaniel, did a great job on it. So, if you want to get an idea of what you should do on your paper, download that paper, take a look at how she did it, and that's what I'm looking for. And that way, you kind of know what I'm looking for. A couple other things. As far as references are concerned, and let me just pull up her paper here so you guys can take a look at it here. Oh, don't want to do it that way. Sorry, guys. Let me do it this way. Okay, so this is the paper that she wrote. Now, you want to start off with your cover page, okay? But notice how she did references, okay? This is just fine, all right there. McDaniel said to have starred in over 300 films, so that's a fact, so she referenced that. Notice that the period goes at the end of this reference, not here. So I'm kind of showing you typical mistakes that students make. You don't want to put the period here. You want to put the period after the reference, okay? And it's always last name, date. If there's more than one people, if there's like two people, let's say it's Jackson and Johnson, you would put Jackson and Johnson, comma 1990. If it's like five people, you'd want Jackson, comma ET period, space AL period, et al., which means and others, okay? But you're probably not going to run into that. I'm just kind of letting you know what you want to do on that. So notice she's got a reference in this paragraph. Notice she's got a couple of references in this paragraph. And then we go down here at the end. Notice there is her restated thesis, okay, which is very similar to the thesis that she had right here. And this is just a really well-written paper, and it gets everything that I'm looking for. And how she wrote this is, if you write it this way for the rest of the program, you should do very well. And then here's her references, and she actually had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So she actually had 5 references for Hattie McDaniel, which is as far as I'm concerned, the more the merrier. Okay. A couple other things I want to point out to you here. Show you something here. Tell you what, let me just go online to show you this. Let's go to CNN. Two inches of snow has shut down Atlanta. Okay. Here's a typical mistake that is made. Notice this right here. This, we have a quote. Notice the period goes inside the quotes. Do not put the period outside the quotes. Okay. That is a common mistake. Also right here, you want to put the comma inside the quotes. So that's a common mistake as well that's a lot of students make. So you definitely want to spend some time with this. And let me just tell you about this paper. What another problem is with this paper, students usually wait till the last minute to do this paper. I have taught way too long to not notice when you've waited to the last minute to do this paper. When you wait to the last minute, that procrastination kicks in. You usually don't do as good a work as what you really need to do. So don't wait till the last minute to do this. Also, make sure your leader has got the proper traits before you start to write the paper, because some students will pick the leader, start to write the paper, and then realize after they've put a bunch of time into it, they can't find the traits. They can't find 3 traits that the leader has that's backed up by articles. So don't make that mistake as well. Okay. Last thing is, here's your APA. Okay, so instead of handing out a pocket guide like we used to, we've kind of got a checklist here. So write your paper, don't worry about APA, and then go back and do all this. Okay, so this is the type of stuff that you need to take a look at. Write your paper, and then do the font and space and double space, margins on all 4 sides, and you do that by going Format, Document, there's your margins. Okay, page numbers, Notice how this goes from an I-beam to this right here. When I double click here, I can put in page, and then I could come up here to insert, and I do page numbers, put it on the first page. There's page 7, there's page 6, and that's a very easy and quick way to do page numbers within your header. Okay, so just delete this here because I always show that to you guys. All right, so go through here for the style checklist, page numbers, the citation, the references and text, all this type of stuff right here. So any questions about the paper? You guys got any questions about the paper? Lots of stuff for you guys to download and take a look at for it on the paper. But the biggest thing is don't wait till the last minute to do it. Make sure you pick a leader that's got 3 traits. Okay? Because in the past, what's really tripped students up besides grammar errors is they've only really written about 2 traits instead of 3. Okay? So make sure that you put those references in there. Your paragraphs are at least 5 sentences long, all that type of stuff. Remember the thesis statements, okay, in the first and last paragraph, all that good stuff right there. Okay, so let's go back to our lecture here. Okay, thesis of 3 clear traits and format. I think we've covered all that. Obviously, if you guys have any questions, you can always shoot me an email on that as well. As always, there's an archive of the session. Okay, and remember, if you do email from the FSO platform, make sure you put your name on there, else I don't know who you are. And if you have trouble with FSO, you can always call them right there, and they're available until 2 a.m. So guys and gals, that is it for the day. Do we have any questions before we call it a day? Yes, Daniel. And let me go ahead and take you off of unmute. There you go. Now you can talk, Daniel.
Okay, for the paper, can we possibly, if we get done with it early, let you review it?
No, I'd have to offer that to everybody, and that's the reason why I put that sample paper on there for review. Now, remember this one, just like you've done with your script and other things, you're going to upload it to turnitin.com.
Okay. So just the major assignments we have this week is just the paper and the
And the
discussion
test.
post.
Yeah. And I'm going to try, I'm not going to try, I am definitely going to have everything graded by tomorrow. Okay. So tomorrow, late afternoon, I'm going to have everything graded on FSO. I've just been so busy of late. So I appreciate the patience from you guys on that. Plus, you get a Christmas present by letting the Pichakucha giving you full credit for that. All right, guys. So I tell you what, I'm going to turn off